the letter that Benjamin Netanyahu got from Charlie Kirk has been released. And Candace is not believing it. And let me be honest, I'm not really believing it either. However, Candace also calls out Turning Point USA and was all like, if I'm a liar, go ahead and call me out. Why haven't they called her out? Let's get into this clip. But first, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and let's get to it, y'all.
Clearly, we can clearly see he suck. Obviously.
All right, you guys, let's go ahead and get into it. Here we go.
With that theme, do you want to know something else that was brand new leading up to this event? Charlie's perspective on Israel. Okay, so let me say this so you can hear it. Charlie Kirk's perspective on Israel was not starting to shift. It had shifted entirely. Okay, there are no ifs and there are no ands and there are no buts about it. Israel knew that. Turning Point USA knew that because Charlie was explicit. So my question is, why isn't Turning Point USA making any statements and shutting down this repeat attempt by Israel to lie and to pretend that towards the end, Charlie was just authoring love letters to Israel, giving them a perspective of here's how we can.
Well, easy. They don't want to stop their money from coming in. Like, according to the context of the letter, Charlie Kirk was all like, how can we find a way where, you know, we help Israel with their PR because y'all losing the messaging war and people are feeling sad for these Muslims. And he was talking about, you know, the Muslims taking over and all this other BS. So, I mean, they don't want to stop their money from coming in. Easy.
Win the proper. Here's what you guys need to do. You need to work with this Hillel, whatever it is. Yeah, the same people that are calling me anti-Semitic, you need to work with those people harder. And he was just putting it on paper. Was it an email? What was that they were sharing? The New York Post, the Israeli Post, right? What were they sharing there? He wrote of his deep love for Israel. He had nothing else to do in May. Wrote of his deep love for Israel to a letter to Netanyahu.
That sounds weird.
Netanyahu said they were close, but in the letter, Charlie puts his number, which apparently Netanyahu didn't have his number. And we're supposed to believe, did he send that as an email, by the way? Can somebody clarify? Was that an email they were sharing? Or did he send it in the mail to him? Could somebody share that, please? I'm assuming it was an email. Can someone share the timestamp on that? Just kind of like authenticate that email, because I'm very aware of what's going on. Okay. And I don't know how the executives over at Turning Point USA sleep at night. Okay. I don't know how you can present yourselves as a Christian organization and not be dedicating yourself to the truth. No matter what the cost is, you tell the truth. That's it. Okay. You don't hide it. You don't try to obfuscate it. You don't try to say, well, wait until the memorial event before we start looking into who murdered him. You tell the truth and you tell it immediately. And I don't think they're capable of doing that. And I have an idea as to why that is. I think the same people that were pressuring Charlie are pressuring them. In fact, I know that for a fact. So they might need my help. Okay. I'm going to state this, and I'm going to challenge Turning Point USA executives to issue a very clean statement saying that I am lying if this is not true. About 48 hours.
See, she said, call me out. If I'm lying about it, you know, call me out on it. But here's the interesting thing too, because if you look at the Turning Point website, and maybe this is something that people don't know, if you look at it, she's still listed underneath the board, underneath the Blexit. Remember the black people leaving the Democratic Party and going over to Republicans? Remember that whole thing? Yeah, that was attached to Turning Point. And Candace is still on the board. So I'm wondering, okay, have they just not updated the website? Like, Candace seems very much involved, but yet she's saying that she's not. She hasn't clarified this. So I wonder, will she soon?
Before Charlie Kirk died, Charlie informed people at Turning Point, as well as Jewish donors and a rabbi, that he had no choice but to abandon the pro-Israel cause outright. Okay, Charlie was done. He said it explicitly, that he refused to be bullied anymore by the Jewish donors. Can you guys answer? Did he express that? Did he also express that he wanted to bring me, Candace Owens, back because he was standing up for himself? And then did he just 48 hours later conveniently catch a bullet to the throat before our onstage reunion could happen? It's a yes or a no.
Wow. So Candace is revealing here like she was supposed to come back. They were supposed to do a reunion. You know, it's been kind of up in the air whether or not Candace and Charlie were still close as they once were. There's actually a video that's been circulating on Twitter where he confirms like, yeah, they were still cool and still talking. And this was in August of this year. Now, the last time that she's been at a Turning Point event was in 2024 around the summer. But we hadn't really heard him talk about her or she talk about him, vice versa. So everybody's been wondering like, okay, well, what was y'all relationship? You know, like how was it towards the end of his life?
No. Okay. Let's stop this ditching. Let's stop the dodging. Let's like explicitly, I want to hear from Turning Point USA that I'm lying about that. I want you to say, no, it was just, you know, he was feeling a little bit of pressure. No, I want you to literally answer what I have just said. It either happened or it didn't. I'm either making it all up or it happened exactly as I'm saying. And while we're at it, may I ask, what is the name of the Jewish donor who sponsored the Hamptons weekend? Okay. And to Pastor Rob McCoy, were there any LLCs that you or your son were being paid through that sat outside of Turning Point? I'm asking that question genuinely. Yeah, I'm putting the fire here right at the feet of Turning Point because I am disgusted. I am genuinely disgusted. I am looking around.
And Candace has said that she thinks that there was some money issues going on where a lot of money was leaving the business and Charlie wanted to figure out what was going on with the money. And before he could figure out what was happening with the money, he met his maker, as they say, you know.
And wondering whether Charlie's entire life was the Truman Show. None of you guys are behaving in the way that you should be behaving, okay? There's no way you are letting these lies fly unless, as I am hearing, unless it is true that there was a big payday that was on the line. And if Charlie radically stated that he was done with Israel, if Charlie said he had no choice but to abandon the pro-Israel cause because of, and I quote, Jewish donors, the behavior of Jewish donors, if he said that, yes or no, well then, I don't know, maybe some people didn't want to take that risk that he was going to become Candace Owens and Tucker Carlson at Turning Point USA with all of those presences, so much presence across college campuses. Maybe they didn't want to take the chance. You see, I'm just one person, so it's easy to just try to cancel my life and lie on me every second of every day. Turning Point USA, I think, got a little bit bigger than Charlie, and I'm no longer going to allow this lie and this narrative. So answer the questions, yes or no. And I'm going to, again, challenge you to lie. And if you do lie, I'm going to expose the lies, and I'm going to start dropping videos, actually. So that's where I'm at.
Ooh,
enough of the game.
Drop them videos. You know, they've been coming out saying that Candace is lying. All of this is made up. But I haven't seen any proof from Candace that kind of leans into what she's been saying, to be honest, right? It's all kind of just conspiratory, which Candace, she dibbles and dabbles in conspiracy theories. Let's be honest about that. But Candace is claiming like this was her friend and this is what he's been going through. Yeah, drop the receipts, Candace. Let us see. Let us see if we're... Because here's the thing. At this point, what it looks like is Candace is making money off her dead friend. Like, I don't know what else to say. If you don't have any proof and this is just speculatory, like, you're using your friend for money. And mind you, you're not the only one. There's a lot of people selling merchandise. Officer Tatum, PBD, they all selling merchandise. So yeah, they're making a profit off of Charlie Kirk. But for you, I mean, yeah, we got to see some proof. If Charlie was really your friend and all this stuff, like, let's see it.
Gains enough with trying to allow Israel to wrangle a narrative that you know is not true. Charlie did not die pro-Israel. He did not die for Israel. He did not martyr himself as a friend of Israel. In fact, the friends of Israel were pressuring him really badly, and he was done, and he finally stood up for himself. And I'm proud of that. And I will say this, you know what? Somewhere, Charlie is watching, okay? And I hope he knows that we are reunited. Okay. We're on stage right now, and the Jewish donors are very angry about it, extremely angry about it. But it feels good to know that in the end, truth is going to win. So accept my challenge or don't. Before I get to some of your comments, I'm going to tell you about a couple of more of our sponsors, Nimi Skincare being one of them.
No
there is
free
a
promo,
reason
Candace.
that we all love the fall.
Nah.
Of course, it's the air changing to help you take control of your finances without and giving you peace of mind. This loan allows you to leverage the equity in your home to pay off high interest debt, free up your cash flow, and keep your existing cash. Owens. All right, you guys. Hope I've made myself clear. I'm done dancing. I am done dancing with all of these frauds. It's just unbelievable. It really is unbelievable. Do me a favor. Don't ever let anybody try to speak out who just tortured me my whole life and then pretend to say something nice. Please don't do that. Just call them out on being hideous individuals. You know, when you end up in a world where like a couple of days before Charlie Kirk dies, someone like Laura Loomer is calling him anti-Semite, and she's funded by one of Charlie's donors, Bob Shulman, who then does a 180 and is now pretending that she is morally fighting me to stop researching into Charlie's murder. You know exactly what kind of world you live in. Politics.
And that deleted tweet has been shown. She was coming at Charlie Kirk because she was trying to say that he was basically going against Israel.
Sickens me. It really does. Everybody who has a wish out there, oh, Candace, like jump into politics. I hate these people.
Ooh.
I hate everybody involved in politics. It is all about money. Okay. They all sell their souls for money, and there are no real relationships. And I hope that you are learning that. If you're getting a lesson about that right now, and it's not left or right. I think, which is something that I learned. It is not left or right. It is just individuals selling their souls. Comment from.
So it's funny because Candace is making a complete 180 where she's saying like she doesn't care about right or left. Mind you, she's built her whole career of being a Black Republican. Like, it's kind of weird hearing that, but she's saying she doesn't believe in the left and right because, again, she was one of the first people to really turn on Trump, especially when it came to freedom of speech, freedom of the press. Like, she really was seeing that change and that turn. And, you know, and I wanted her to dive deeper into when she was talking about Kash Patel firing everybody at the FBI and then getting this new guy in there because, again, remember they're supposed to drain the swamp? No, the swamp is still in the White House. Like, that has not gone away. And again, with a lot of this Charlie Kirk stuff, I still want to hear from Erica. Now, I know Erica has been on Erica Kirk. She's been on the Turning Point podcast or whatnot, the Charlie Kirk show. But we haven't heard her debunk anything that Candace has said. And again, the people on the board of Turning Point, we haven't heard from them. We've heard from outsiders and supposed friends of his. So, I mean, until somebody proves, either Candace proves she's telling the truth or they prove that she's lying, I'm still up in the air with it. And again, with that whole letter from Charlie Kirk to Bibi, it's still a little skeptical. I don't know. I'll say this. Do I think that he was turning on Israel? No. He knows where his bread and butter is coming from, and he's going to go with the popular opinion. Now, do I think that if one day maybe everyone turns on Israel, he would change his perspective? Yes, I do. But let's not forget, they're still heavily supported by the U.S. and a lot of other nations too. And before we get out of here, let me go ahead and show you guys the clip that I was talking about where Charlie Kirk said that him and Candace are still friends, because I don't think a lot of people have talked about this. Here we go. Let me pull up X. Okay, and it says, ooh, somebody is lying. Charlie Kirk, August 21st, 2025. So let's go ahead and pull this up.
Stop being friends with people just because people.
Well, we'll continue to pray for him. And I wanted to ask you again, how is your relationship with Candace Owens nowadays?
She's a great friend. You know, look, I don't agree with everything Candace says, but you know what I don't do? I don't stop being friends with people just because people morally blackmail me. I don't do that, and you shouldn't either. Look, I have different views on things as Candace. I have different views on Israel than Candace. I have different views on a lot of geopolitics. But honestly, I traveled the country with Candace. I went to her wedding. I saw her meet her husband. I went to Israel with Candace, which is a fun story I'll tell you at some point. But what I don't like is when people demand, you must stop being friends with somebody. Whoa, whoa, whoa. That's a left-wing tactic. don't do that. I'm not saying you do that, but other people do that. We should never resort to that. In fact, if you believe what I believe, shouldn't you want me to be friends with people that don't agree with us? Shouldn't you want me to also be a tool of influence? And so I think the world of Candace. She's a great mother. She certainly has very, very fun opinions at times. And she's a great talent. She says a lot of stuff that sometimes I don't agree with, but that's what makes our relationship and our friendship interesting. My advice to all of you, you might not like somebody, but never tell somebody like me to stop being friends with somebody on an interpersonal level just because of disagreement. It's bad. It's what the left does, and we should rise above it as conservatives. Thank you so much.
So there you have it. That's still his girl. Now, I definitely do think that he hit it. I'm sorry, y'all. I gotta be honest with y'all. You know I don't give a damn about these people. But I definitely think that he hit it, and he couldn't be with Candace because she was a black girl. I still feel that way because the way that Candace talks about him and the things that they used to be together, they really were the people who built, because it's not just Charlie Kirk. You got to throw Candace in there, really built that whole turning point thing. So when you think about it, they had a very close relationship. They were traveling around the world with each other because not just the country, the world. They went to the world with all of this. So again, they had that very close relationship, and it was actually good to hear like he's still standing up for her. And this was allegedly in August 21st of 2025. So you see that, yeah, they were still cool. But again, you guys, let me know what you guys think in the comment section. Please hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, all that good stuff. We're going to go ahead and get the hell up out of here. But I'm curious, do y'all believe the letter? Do y'all believe Candace? Should Turning Point come out and say something like Candace is lying? What's going on, y'all? Let's get out of here. Deuces.